Rain slashed through the pine forest like thrown blades, cold and merciless, soaking the ground until mud swallowed every step. Thunder cracked overhead, deep and violent, shaking the earth as if the sky itself was furious. The moon hid behind racing clouds, refusing to witness what was about to happen. She ran, barefoot, bleeding, breath tearing from her chest in sharp, painful gasps. Her cloak was ripped open, hanging uselessly from one shoulder. Mud streaked her legs. Blood, hers, mixed with rain and dirt, warm and slick beneath her feet. Every step burned. Every heartbeat screamed at her to stop. But stopping meant dying. She pushed through low branches, thorns ripping at her skin, pine needles stabbing her soles. The forest felt alive tonight. Too alive. Trees loomed like silent judges, their trunks thick and unforgiving, their shadows stretching and twisting as though reaching for her. She didn't dare look back, because she could feel them. Not just the wolves, though they were there, somewhere behind her, fast and relentless, but the memories. The ones that chased her harder than claws ever could. The echoes of shouting voices. The crack of bone. The smell of fear that had once belonged to her. Her chest tightened. Not again. Not now. I won't let it take me. A sharp pain ripped through her side. She cried out and stumbled, hitting the ground hard. Mud splashed her face. Rain filled her mouth. She rolled onto her back, gasping, fingers clawing at the earth as lightning split the sky wide open. For a moment, the forest froze in white light. That's when she saw it. A faint silver glow flickering beneath her skin, pulsing along her veins like liquid moonlight. It shimmered at her wrists, her throat, her chest, beautiful and terrifying all at once. Her power was waking up. No, she whispered, dragging herself upright. Her hands shook as she pressed her palm against her side. The wound was deep. Too deep. Blood soaked her fingers, but the skin refused to knit together. Refused to heal. It was happening again. Her breath hitched. Panic clawed up her throat. The storm roared louder, rain pounding harder, as if the night itself was pushing her forward or daring her to fall. Wind screamed through the trees, carrying whispers that sounded dangerously close to her name. She staggered on, half running, half falling, legs trembling with exhaustion. Every muscle screamed. Her lungs burned like fire. She could feel the pull of the moon now, heavy and insistent, tugging at something buried deep inside her. Something she had spent her entire life trying to cage. Branches snapped behind her. Too close. She ducked between two massive pines, heart hammering so hard it hurt. Her senses flared without permission. Sounds sharpened. Scents flooded in wet earth, blood, pine, and wolf. Fear surged through her, sharp and cold. She had been here before. Different forest. Same terror. The night her pack turned their backs on her. The night they called her cursed. She clenched her jaw and ran harder, tears mixing with rain, face tight with pain and fury. She wasn't weak. She refused to be weak. But fear didn't care about pride. Fear lived in the body, in the trembling hands, and the way her pulse raced out of control. The silver glow flared brighter, flashing under her skin in wild, unstable waves. No, she hissed again, nearly sobbing now. Please. Not here. The ground sloped downward suddenly. She lost her footing and slid, tumbling through mud and stones until she slammed into a fallen log. Pain exploded through her shoulder. She cried out, the sound ripped away by the storm. She lay there, chest heaving, rain pounding her face, staring up at the dark canopy above. For a split second, she thought about giving up. Just for a heartbeat. Then she heard it. A low sound. Not thunder. Not wind. A howl. Her blood ran cold. It wasn't close, but it wasn't far enough. She forced herself up, teeth chattering, muscles screaming in protest. The silver light beneath her skin surged again, stronger this time, like something inside her was clawing to be let loose. She wrapped her arms around herself, shaking. You can't lose control. Because she knew what happened when she did. The forest seemed to lean inward, shadows thickening, branches bending as if the trees themselves were watching. Every step felt heavier, like the earth was trying to hold her down. Exile pressed in from every side. She had no pack, no home, no name anyone wanted to claim. Just this curse. Just this power. And the moon, rising fast. She stumbled again, catching herself on a tree trunk, fingers digging into bark. Blood smeared the rough surface. Her vision blurred. The glow under her skin pulsed painfully, brighter with every passing second. Her body was betraying her. She swallowed hard, chest tight, heart pounding with raw terror. If they found her like this, half-shifted, wounded, exposed, it wouldn't be mercy waiting for her. It would be chains. Fire. Death. The wind howled through the trees, carrying the distant sound of pursuit. Wolves didn't need to see their prey. They felt it. Fear had a scent, and hers was everywhere. She pushed off the tree and forced herself forward one last time, legs barely obeying her. Each breath came out ragged, broken. The moon slipped free of the clouds. Silver light spilled across the forest floor. Her knees buckled. She dropped to one knee, fingers digging into the mud, body shaking violently as the pole inside her tightened like a noose. The glow under her skin flared, bright and uncontrollable now, lighting her veins like burning threads. Tears slid down her cheeks, lost in the rain. She lifted her face to the sky, voice barely louder than a whisper. "If they find me before the moon sets." Her breath broke. "I won't survive the change. And before this night swallows her whole." Subscribe to Moonlight Desires, where forbidden bonds, cursed power, and alpha kings collide beneath the moon. The moon climbed higher. Its light spilled over her skin, silver and unforgiving, and the pull inside her tightened until her breath hitched in her throat. She braced one trembling hand against the ground, trying to stay human, trying to stay herself. That was when the forest changed. Not loudly. Not violently. It was subtle. Wrong. The rain softened. Thunder faded into a distant growl. Even the wind seemed to hesitate, as if something far more dangerous had stepped into the night and claimed its attention. She felt it before she saw it. A presence, heavy, controlled, unmistakably dominant, slid through the trees like a living shadow. The air thickened. Her skin prickled. The silver glow beneath her flesh flared in response, not in fear, but in recognition. Her heart slammed hard against her ribs. She forced herself upright and turned. Fog curled between the trees, rolling low and slow. From within it, a massive silhouette emerged. Tall. Broad. Still. He didn't rush. Didn't hide. He stood there as though the forest belonged to him, and maybe it did. Moonlight touched his face. His eyes opened. Ancient gold burned back at her, steady and assessing, with no surprise in them at all. No confusion. Just awareness. He spoke, and his voice cut clean through the storm. "You shouldn't run during a blood moon." The calm in his tone terrified her more than any snarl ever could. Her hand flew to her belt. Steel flashed as she yanked free a short blade, raising it between them. The weapon looked small. Inadequate. Her fingers shook anyway, slick with rain and blood. "Don't come closer," she warned, breath ragged, voice thin with exhaustion. He took a single step forward. Not aggressive. Not cautious. Unbothered. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said, eyes never leaving her face. "If I were, you'd already be on the ground." Her jaw clenched. She hated that part of her believed him. "How do you know me?" she demanded. "Who are you?" His gaze sharpened, something darker threading through the gold. "You don't recognize my scent." "That's interesting." Her pulse spiked. Then he said her name. Softly. Precisely. Like it mattered. The world tilted. She hadn't told anyone her name in years. Her grip tightened on the blade. "Answer me." He studied her like a puzzle he'd been waiting to solve. "You crossed into my territory 3 nights ago. I've been watching since." The silver light under her skin surged violently, reacting to him like a living thing. His power pressed against hers, slow, immense, undeniable. Not forceful. Just there. Like gravity. Like inevitability. She took an unsteady step back. He took another step forward. Rain slid down his dark hair. Water traced the hard lines of his face, his throat. He looked carved from shadow and moonlight, control wrapped tight around something dangerous. He inhaled. And froze. For the first time, his composure cracked. His chest stilled. His eyes flared brighter. Something feral slipped through the mask he wore so well, raw, instinctive, hungry. His jaw tightened like he was biting down on a reaction he didn't want. He knew. Whatever she was, he knew. Her blade wavered. "You're shaking," he said quietly. Not mocking. Not kind. Just observant. "You're injured. And you're running out of time." She swallowed hard, fear and fury tangling in her chest. "Stay back." His gaze lifted to the moon. Then back to her. "You're not just running from wolves," he said, voice low and steady, stepping into her space without touching her. "You're running from what you are." And the night seemed to hold its breath. The words hung between them, heavy and exposed. "What you are." Her breath stuttered, and the forest blurred around the edges as memories she fought every day clawed their way to the surface. She didn't answer him. Couldn't. Because the truth had teeth. The first time it happened, the moon had been full and kind. That's what she remembered most, the way it shone softly, almost gently, before everything went wrong. She had been 16. Excited. Terrified. Standing in the center of the pack clearing while elders formed a tight circle around her. Her shift came fast. Too fast. Bones snapping in the wrong direction. Heat ripping through her veins like wildfire. And then the light, silver, blinding, alive, pouring out of her skin instead of fur. The ground cracked beneath her feet. Wolves screamed. Not in challenge. In fear. Elders shouted spells she'd never heard before. Someone cried her name like it was already lost. Chains followed. Moonstone, cold and burning at the same time, wrapped around her wrists and throat while she writhed on the ground, half-shifted and glowing like a curse made flesh. She remembered the smell of scorched earth. Remembered the way the silver flame answered panic instead of command. And above it all, her mother's voice. Low. Desperate. Breaking. "Hide what you are." The memory shattered, snapping her back into the rain-soaked forest. Her chest rose and fell unevenly. The blade in her hand dipped toward the ground. Silver flame flickered under her skin again, weaker now, trembling like it sensed the weight of being seen. The Alpha King didn't move. He didn't flinch. He didn't reach for her, and somehow that was worse. He stood there, watching her unravel, eyes sharp with understanding instead of judgment. "That power," she said at last, her voice rough and unsteady, "doesn't belong in packs." His brow furrowed slightly, but he let her speak. "It doesn't listen," she went on. "Not to alphas. Not to laws. It burns through them." Her throat tightened. "They erased my bloodline because of it. Scrubbed us from stories. From records. Like we never existed." Rain traced silver paths down her face. She didn't wipe it away. "They marked me unclaimed," she whispered. "Cast me out without a name to return to. Told every pack I was dangerous." She laughed once, short and hollow. They weren't wrong. The Alpha King stepped closer, not enough to touch, just enough that she felt his presence like heat against her skin. "You survived," he said quietly. "Barely." He studied her the way one might study a storm, not with fear, but with respect for what it could do. "You could have destroyed them," he said. "You didn't." Her shoulders sagged. Exhaustion seeped into her bones. "Because I didn't want to become what they said I was." Silence settled again, thick and fragile. Finally, she looked at him. Really looked. "Why help me?" she asked, voice stripped bare. "You don't owe me anything." For the first time, something softened in his eyes. Not pity. Not mercy. Recognition. "Because the world already tried to break you," he said. "And it failed." The forest opened for them. Not suddenly. Not violently. It remembered. Trees thinned into a wide, circular grove where the rain no longer fell. The air changed there, older, heavier, humming with something that had been waiting far too long. Moss-covered stones ring the clearing, worn smooth by centuries of wind and silence. No tracks marked the ground. No scent of wolf lingered. Time had passed this place by. She slowed without meaning to, breath catching as her feet crossed the threshold. The silver glow beneath her skin stirred, no longer frantic, no longer afraid. It pulsed with recognition, with longing. At the center of the grove stood a stone altar, split by age but unbroken. Cracks along its surface glimmered faintly as she approached, light seeping through like veins waking under skin. Symbols etched into the earth began to glow beneath her bare feet, ancient runes, older than packs, older than crowns. Her heart pounded. This place, her voice faded. She didn't have words for the ache spreading through her chest. It felt like standing in front of a memory that didn't belong to her alone. The Alpha King stopped at the edge of the grove. He didn't step inside. She turned, confused. "You're not coming?" His jaw tightened. "Only those bound to it may enter." That should have scared her. Instead, the symbols flared brighter. Heat rushed up her legs, coiling around her spine, blooming in her chest. The silver flame surged, not wild, not destructive, but focused. Controlled. Alive. And the grove answered. A whisper rose from the stones, low and layered, voices overlapping in a language she somehow understood without knowing how. "The one with the mark." Her breath caught. "Child of the silver flame." The words wrapped around her like a verdict. Like a truth she had been running from her entire life. She staggered back, shaking her head. "No," she whispered. "You're wrong." The ground beneath her feet pulsed once, and the world broke open. Fire. Not wild. Not cruel. Cities burned in towering waves of silver and white, not screaming, but changing. Wolves knelt beneath a sky split by light, their eyes filled with awe or terror. Crowns shattered. Old laws crumbled into ash. She saw herself standing at the center of it all. Unbroken. Unbowed. Crowned in fire and moonlight, silver flame rising behind her like wings. Her scream tore free as the vision collapsed. She fell to her knees, hands pressed to the glowing earth, chest heaving. Tears spilled down her face, sizzling where they touched the runes. "I can't be this," she choked. "I destroy everything I touch." The silver light dimmed, as if listening. Behind her, the Alpha King stood frozen. This wasn't a story passed down by elders. This wasn't myth softened by time. He could feel it now, the pull, the power, the shift in the world's balance. She was real. And everything was about to change. When she finally looked up at him, her eyes were bright with fear, not fire. "Tell me I'm wrong," she pleaded. He didn't answer. Because the grove had already spoken. The grove didn't get a chance to breathe. The first howl cut through the silence like a blade. She felt it in her bones before she heard the rest, boots striking stone, bodies breaking through the tree line, foreign scents flooding sacred ground. The silver symbols beneath her feet flickered, dimming as if recoiling from the intrusion. Rival wolves poured into the clearing, armed and armored, eyes burning with suspicion and fear. Their presence poisoned the air. This place had been untouched for centuries, and now it throbbed with tension, humming like a snapped wire. "She's here." The words spread fast. Sharp. Accusing. "She's the one. She's the curse." Hands pointed at her like weapons. Snarls curled across lips. Some of them bowed their heads, not in respect, but in dread. The Alpha King stepped forward at once, his body a barrier between her and the crowd. Power rolled off him in heavy waves, enough to make the ground tremble. "This grove is forbidden," he said, voice carrying authority forged in blood and rule. "You trespass." A rival Alpha broke from the group, tall and scarred, his gaze locked on her like she was already condemned. "We followed the signs," he snarled. "The silver fire. The prophecy you thought was dead." Murmurs rippled outward. "She'll bring ruin. She'll burn us all. She already has." Her chest tightened. Every word hit like it had before. Different voices. Same fear. The rival Alpha's eyes flicked to the king. "You let her walk free," he accused. "You shelter her. That makes you complicit." The grove pulsed uneasily. "Choose," the rival Alpha demanded, raising his voice so all could hear. "Your people, or the abomination standing in your sacred ground." Silence slammed down hard. She felt it then, the fragile thread between herself and the Alpha King stretching thin, vibrating with strain. He didn't answer immediately. His jaw clenched. His gaze flicked, just once, toward the watching wolves. That single hesitation was enough. Understanding settled cold and heavy in her chest. She took a step back. The symbols beneath her feet faded completely as she crossed the boundary of the altar. The silver glow under her skin dimmed, pulling inward like a wounded thing. Gasps followed her movement. She's retreating. She knows what she is. Her throat burned, but she kept her chin high. If she was leaving, she wouldn't crawl. I won't be the reason your pack fractures, she said quietly, more to him than to them. I've seen what fear does. He turned sharply toward her. Don't. But he didn't reach for her. Didn't stop her. She backed away, one slow step at a time, rain beginning to fall again as the grove released her. The forest reclaimed its voice. Wind rose. Thunder rolled. Inside her, something hardened. If the world wanted a monster, if fear was all they could see when they looked at her, then fine. She would stop begging to be understood. She would stop running from the fire in her veins. Her gaze lifted, silver light flickering faintly in her eyes as she disappeared into the trees. If the world wants a monster, she thought, steady and resolved, I'll decide what kind. She didn't get far. The forest swallowed her anger quickly, dampening it with mist and shadow, but it couldn't quiet the pain burning through her side. Her strength gave out near a shallow cave tucked beneath a curtain of ivy and stone. She collapsed inside just as the rain returned in full, relentless sheets. Firelight bloomed moments later. She stiffened, reaching weakly for her blade, but his presence settled around her before fear could take hold. Calm. Steady. Close. Easy, he murmured. She hated how that single word slowed her breathing. He knelt across from her, the fire casting warm gold across his face. Shadows moved along his jaw as he reached for her torn cloak, fingers careful, almost reverent. When he touched her skin, power stirred between them, hers answering his without permission. She sucked in a breath. You shouldn't have followed me, she said. Neither should you have left bleeding, he replied. He cleaned the wound in silence, hands sure, unhurried. The heat of him chased away the cold she hadn't realized was sinking into her bones. Each time his fingers brushed her skin, the silver glow beneath her flesh pulsed softly, no longer fighting. You don't flinch, she whispered. Neither do you, he said. Not when it matters. The fire crackled low. Outside, the storm eased into a steady hush. Time stretched thin, fragile as breath. Later, when the pain dulled and strength crept back into her limbs, she stood. The moon had climbed high, spilling light across the clearing outside the cave. Without a word, he followed her into it. Music wasn't needed. The rhythm was already there in the wind, in the earth, in the way their bodies found each other without touching. They circled slowly, instinct guiding them, movements echoing something ancient and unspoken. A dance older than fear. Her power flowed freely now, silver and warm, threading through the space between them. His answered it, not dominating, not claiming, just there. Matching her step. Matching her breath. She laughed softly, surprised by it. He watched her like the sight hurt and healed him all at once. I don't have a mate, he said quietly, breaking the spell just enough to matter. She stilled. There was never time, he continued. Or room. Being alpha demands pieces of you most don't see. She swallowed. Bonding, her voice faltered. It wouldn't survive me. I ruin what gets too close. He stepped nearer. Too near. Their breaths mingled. The air thickened. Power hummed between them, alive and aching, tugging at instincts neither dared to name. Look at me, he said. She did. His eyes burned, not with hunger, but with recognition. With certainty. I see you, he said softly. All of you. Her heart cracked open. She leaned in without deciding to. He did the same. Their lips hovered a breath apart, close enough to promise, close enough to destroy. And neither of them crossed the line. Because somewhere deep inside, they both knew. The storm hadn't passed. It was only waiting. The summons came at dawn. Not shouted. Not demanded. delivered with ceremony sharp enough to cut. She stood at the center of the council ring as wolves gathered in widening circles, stone seats filling with faces carved by fear and tradition. The air was tense, heavy with judgment. Every whisper felt like a blade pressed to her spine. She knew before anyone spoke. Her name, her true name, rolled through the ring, stripped of kindness, spoken like a verdict. Gasps followed. Then outrage. The silver flame, one elder hissed. "It's her." Another rose, voice trembling with fury. The prophecy wasn't a blessing, it was a warning. She scanned the crowd, heart pounding, searching for him. He stood apart, jaw tight, eyes locked on the elders as though weighing a war he hadn't planned to fight today. "She will end us all," someone shouted. The words echoed, growing louder as others took them up, fear feeding fear until it roared. Fingers pointed. Accusations piled high and fast. "She brings ruin. She burns packs from the inside. She cannot be allowed to exist." Her chest constricted. The familiar weight of exile pressed down hard. Not again. She had survived this once. Barely. An elder stepped forward, staff striking stone. "Alpha," he said, turning to the king. "This ends now. Choose your people, or her." Every breath caught. She turned slowly toward him, silver light flickering beneath her skin despite her efforts to hold it back. She didn't plead. Didn't beg. She had learned what those things cost. For a heartbeat, just one, he hesitated. The crowd seized on it. That pause cracked something open inside her. Understanding landed like ice in her veins. Then he moved. He stepped to her side. The reaction was immediate: shouts, snarls, outrage tearing through the ring. Power surged outward from him, ancient and absolute, silencing the chaos with sheer force of will. "She is under my protection," he said, voice steady but burning underneath. "And you will not touch her." Relief and terror collided in her chest. The elders recoiled, but only for a moment. "You doom us," one snarled. "You doom everything." Something inside her snapped. The silver flame surged free, no longer contained, roaring through her veins like it had been waiting for permission. Light exploded outward from her chest, blinding, violent, alive. The ground split beneath her feet, stone cracking, runes screaming to life. Wolves staggered back in fear. She screamed not in pain, but in release. Fire wrapped her body, silver and white, burning without consuming. Power ripped through the council ring, shattering ancient stone, ripping truth from lies. This was what they had feared. This was what she had been running from. And it was too late now. She looked at him one last time through the flames, really looked, and saw grief there. Pride. Something dangerously close to love. Then the fire closed around her. The ground collapsed inward. And she vanished into the blaze, leaving silence, smoke, and a world that would never be the same again. Fire did not consume her. It answered. When she emerged, the world was already breaking. Stone burned. Air rippled with heat. The council ring lay split and scorched, ancient seats reduced to molten scars. Wolves staggered through smoke and ash, coughing, shielding their eyes as silver fire carved paths through the ground like living veins. And through it all she walked. Bare feet touched flame without harm. Silver light no longer flickered beneath her skin. It flowed openly now, woven into her like breath. Her hair lifted in an unseen current, eyes blazing with moonlit fire that did not waver. She was no longer running. Voices rose inside her, not loud, not frantic, but vast. Layered. Patient. Ancestors. Not ghosts. Not echoes. Witnesses. They spoke without words, threading memory into bone, purpose into blood. They showed her what had been hidden, why her power never bent, why chains failed, why alpha commands shattered against her will. She was never meant to kneel. Her body shifted, not violently, not painfully, but completely. Silver flame shaped her bones, reforged muscle and sinew, wrapped her in a form that was neither fully wolf nor fully woman. Taller. Stronger. Crowned in light that carried both mercy and ruin. Myth stepped into flesh. The fire parted before her as she reached the center of the shattered ring. Wolves fell silent. Some dropped to their knees without knowing why. Others backed away, terror widening their eyes as instinct screamed truth they could no longer deny. She lifted her gaze. "I am not your curse," she said, her voice carrying without force, without strain. It echoed anyway, not from volume, but from weight. "I am your reckoning." The words struck deeper than flame ever could. Across the ruins, the Alpha King stood frozen, smoke curling around his boots. Relief hit him hard enough to steal his breath. Awe followed. Fear, not of her, but for what this meant, settled into his bones. She turned toward him. For a moment, the world narrowed to the space between them. Everything unsaid burned brighter than the fire around them. She did not smile. She did not soften. But she did not turn away. Then the ground trembled. Not from her power. From something older. Darker. A sound rose beneath the ruins low, grinding, wrong. The silver fire faltered, reacting to a presence that did not belong to this age or any prophecy she had seen. Shadows thickened at the edges of the clearing, gathering like spilled ink. The air grew heavy, pressing against lungs, against instincts. Wolves whimpered. Even the bravest took a step back. Her ancestors went silent. She felt it then, the truth settling sharp and clear. This awakening had not gone unnoticed. She straightened, silver flame coiling tighter around her form, steady instead of wild. Whatever stirred beneath the broken world, whatever had been waiting for her to rise, she would meet it standing. Not as a sacrifice. Not as a warning. But as the fire they had tried and failed to erase. The air trembled with silence. Smoke curled upward from the shattered grove, carrying ash that clung to fur and hair alike. Silver flames still danced along her skin, low and steady now, like the heartbeat of something older than law, older than fear. Wolves and elders alike stood frozen, their eyes wide with awe, with terror, with something they had never dared to name. She moved slowly, deliberately, across the scorched ground. Each step left a faint trail of glowing light, not a threat, not a warning, just proof. Proof that she existed. Proof that she had survived. Proof that she had claimed herself. The Alpha King followed, silent, his expression impossible to read. His eyes flicked from her to the trembling pack, from the fire in her veins to the shadows gathering at the edge of the grove. He knew, as she did, that nothing would ever be the same. Nothing would ever feel safe again, not for them, not for the world that had tried to break her. She lifted her head, silver light glinting in her eyes, and spoke, not to him, not to the wolves, not even to the shadows, but to anyone listening. To anyone brave enough to witness what the world feared most. "Would you have chosen me?" she said, her voice low, almost mournful, "or feared me too?" The words lingered in the smoke-thick air, curling around stone and earth, threading into hearts too cautious to answer. They were not an accusation. Not a plea. Just a question that cut sharper than claws and hotter than fire. Silence answered. And yet, even as she stood there, towering in silver flame, ancient power humming beneath her skin, her chest heaved with the ache of vulnerability. Power was not safety. Strength was not love. And the world, fractured and fragile, waited for an answer that might never come. The storm of emotion did not die. It whispered through the trees, through the pack, through every living thing that dared to watch. They could feel it, her grief, her fury, her longing. They could feel it because it was human, because it was her. And in that stillness, in the pause between fear and awe, between destruction and revelation, a single thought burned brightest of all. Some would stand with her. Some would run. And some would fall away, leaving only memory in their wake. The forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the choice no one could make for them. Then the night leaned in closer, shadows curling like fingers across the broken earth. Silver flame softened, coiling around her body like smoke settling after a fire. The Alpha King remained near, watching, protective, yet powerless to shield the world from its own fear. And in that quiet, the story's pulse thrummed, sharp and insistent, reaching beyond the grove, beyond the pack, beyond the ashes. If this story lit something inside you, Something fierce, forbidden, unforgettable, subscribe to Moonlight Desires. Because here, we tell tales that burn. And some fires refuse to die. The forest shivered as if it had a heartbeat of its own. Beneath the scorched earth, fissures snaked outward, glowing faintly with silver light. Each tremor pulsed through stone and root, vibrating into the souls of every wolf standing in the ruined grove. The wind stilled, carrying not rain or storm, but a silence so complete it pressed against the chest, made the heart skip, made the blood turn cold. She remained at the center, silver flame dimmed to a soft pulse, eyes scanning the darkness beyond the broken trees. Smoke rose in lazy spirals, carrying the scent of ash, sweat, and ancient magic. Her chest heaved, but not with fear. Her power had taught her that the world trembles long before danger ever shows itself. And tonight, danger was not far. A shadow moved at the edge of the clearing, coalescing slowly, deliberately. Its shape was human-like yet distorted, impossibly tall, and the air around it seemed to bend, heavy with threat. Silence stretched like a blade. The Alpha King's muscles tensed beside her, every instinct alert, every scent of predator and prey igniting at once. Then the voice came. Soft, deep, unforgiving. She is not the only one, it said. The words sank into the earth, lodged in stone, wrapped around the silver veins beneath her skin. Not a warning, not a threat, but a promise. Something ancient and alive, older than packs, older than kings, older than prophecy itself. She stiffened, feeling the pull in her chest, the silver flame responding instinctively, coiling tighter, ready. This was no ordinary shadow. This was something more, something that had been waiting for her to rise, waiting for the world to catch its breath, waiting for the moment when fear could be challenged. The Alpha King's hand brushed against hers. Protective, grounded, a silent promise. But even his presence could not mask the truth. This battle, this awakening, had only begun. Her gaze swept the grove. Wolves scattered, some lingering to stare, awe and terror entwined in their golden eyes. The council's ruins smoldered behind her, the evidence of what had been and what had been destroyed. The storm had passed, but the tremors of consequence ran far deeper than the earth itself. She exhaled slowly, a whisper of air carrying both defiance and determination. I am ready, she thought, though the voice outside whispered that she would need more than courage. She would need power, control, allies, and perhaps sacrifice. The shadow shifted again, almost impatiently, as if testing the ground, testing the world. Something moved in the distance, just beyond sight, an unseen force waiting for the moment to strike, to challenge, to rise alongside her. The silver flame in her veins pulsed, sensing it, acknowledging it. And then the forest held its breath. Smoke curled into the moonlight. The ground trembled one last time. Her eyes glowed faintly, catching the first hints of the danger yet to come. She did not turn. She did not flee. She waited. Because this was not the end. It had never been the end. And as the wind carried the shadow's final, chilling promise into the ruined grove, the night seemed to lean closer, dark and hungry, whispering, "The true Alpha hasn't risen, yet."